Akira.
Right. Hey. What you are listening to right now is the latest release by Akira the Don. It's so damn good. I love it. I absolutely love it. Where is it? Here it is. Here's the latest. That Golden Sound beat tape. It's like 22 minutes long. I've already listened to it all the way through, maybe about 7 or 8 times since Sunday. I reached out to let them know, and there's a couple of really great remixes in here. There's a good Sting remix in here. There's a Sinatra remix in here. I don't know. It's just great. But good on you, Akira. Very nice. Well, everybody, welcome. It's 7:01 p.m., and we have a nice one on tap tonight. Just a couple of things up front. I mean, with all the drama swirling around, the proposed dissolution of the Federal Department of Education and others, I thought it would be a perfect time to bring back Larry Sharpe. Okay, and Larry Sharpe is a former gubernatorial candidate for the state of New York, Libertarian Party. I think it was 2018 and maybe 22. I forget. Anyway, but we'll talk to him about that. We'll see what's been going on with him and how everything's been. Larry brought ideas to the campaign trail that were not only designed to cut financial and political ties between New York and D.C., but it really opened up the floor to innovative ideas in making higher education better for students. And this is really, I want to just revisit those ideas because this is what we're talking about right now, about the 10th Amendment being the most important thing in empowering states to be policy experimentation zones. And it's really been just something we've lost track of since the 14th Amendment replaced the entire Constitution. And this will just be nice because I want to continue to inspire anybody out in this audience, and many of you have already started doing this, to get involved locally. Many of you have run and actually attained public office. Some of you are probably building higher and higher aspirations for what the future is going to bring. Many of you are young and you're waiting for your chance to escape, fly out of the gate, running. And this should be one of those things where real restoration of the country is going to really be decided. How creative can you be? And can you build a caucus? Can you build a coalition? That's the real thing there, because ideas, they're fantastic, but are we going to be able to fix the culture? It all has to go hand in hand. So we'll have fun with all the constitutional ways for a state to veto the Fed tonight, and then we'll open up the lines for whatever we have, whatever's out there, whatever time we have left afterwards. I just want to thank my sponsors. I want to thank Keto Brainz for hanging out with us and being so supportive of the show. It's been a really fun time having them on, and I just want to remind you all that not only do you have a 20% off code in the description of the episode for your first order over there, but for the rest of this month, they are sending home with your orders. They're sending home free samples of this salty, it's called SALTE. They're friends from Norway. This electrolyte pouches that you just drop in your water and all that stuff. It's really good probably for coming up the season, the sweaty season of summer, when you don't know how much you're losing until you're completely wasted. This is what it has in each pouch: 800 milligrams of sodium, 400 milligrams potassium, 60 milligrams magnesium, no sugar, no carbs, just clean, effective hydration in its purest form. That's so Keto Brainz is just throwing that in for you guys to try with every purchase. So thank you to Molly and friends at Keto Brainz. They'll be calling in on Friday when Jay Gulanello's in. Tomorrow night we will be live. It's going to be starting a little bit later than 7 o'clock. You'll see when. It'll be scheduled at some point tomorrow. It just really doesn't matter. The whole point is we're going to be live. We'll be doing the show. I'll be doing it from home. We'll have Lauren Conlon calling in with an update on the whole Utah situation, because there's a lot of freaky stuff going on there. And then on Thursday, Top Lobster and Dave of Nephilim Death Squad. That should be fun. Trip down the rabbit hole, and maybe we'll even be able to bring up the pyramids. I have an update on that too for Friday. But and then Friday night is Jay Gulanello. That should be fun. We're giving away another round of silver there too. And Monday, we'll see. Go to town hall to state our case for the village council. See if they're going to tear down our building over here. If they're going to offer this building up, the last piece of local identity, to the altar of what? I don't know. A major property sale somewhere down the line. Another mixed-use residential building that'll be 35% occupancy over the next 10 years. I don't know what the real payoff is here. Well, I have an idea, and we've talked about it before, but I'll be laying it all out there on Monday. All right. All that is said and done. Let's jump into the grab bag. Here's the first one for you guys, ladies and gentlemen. Here it is. 23andMe, the Wall Street Journal. 23andMe customers scramble to delete data, seek assurances after bankruptcy. The DNA testing company's site was slow in responding to some deletion requests, leading customers to be uncertain about the process. Hasn't there already been several leaks of customer data with the 23andMe genetic company? I mean, what does deletion even mean at this point? I guess if you can, why not? But an array of 23andMe customers rushed to its website on Monday seeking to delete their genetic data from the DNA testing company after its bankruptcy filing. They faced long wait times or error messages and had to make repeated attempts to receive confirmation that their request had been received. So some sought unsuccessfully to delete the data of a deceased family member, and many expressed uncertainty about whether or how they would receive confirmation that the data had been deleted. Several 23andMe users also said that they have heightened interest in what happens to their data due to a password hack in the company in 2023 that exposed information belonging to 6.9 million people. There's the answer to my question. Now, here's a question I will put out there for people in the audience who have done, and I know that we did genetic testing and family lineage discussion on this show sometime, probably around 2023 or 2 or 1, who knows. But for those of you who keep in track with this, I know that there are several companies you can go to see what bounces back. The thing I don't understand is this. I'm pretty sure that all of the hits, don't all those companies share data with each other? I'm pretty sure that from what I heard that all these companies have to share data with each other so that if one of their clients wants to widen their search for any relatives or anything like that, people who are out there in the world, that they have to pull from all over the place. So haven't you already contributed to the information of what is going to bounce back in searches, and how permanent is that? Is there just a certain layer of publicly available data that is just stripped off the top? And I don't know. Does your withdrawal of consent so many years after the fact make a data point that somebody else can search for just a little bit more vague now that you withdrawn your consent, or do you still stay? I don't know. And to say, well, thank God I didn't send my saliva to 23andMe. Who knows how they've been collecting all of our DNA over the years? Just who knows? Here's somebody that has some DNA problems now. A man requires medical attention after getting his girlfriend's hand stuck in his mouth. Doctors at a hospital in Jilin, China, recently reported one of their most bizarre cases yet: a woman who had gotten her hand stuck in her boyfriend's mouth while trying to film a funny video. It looks very funny. Clips and photos of a couple walking into the emergency room of a hospital in Jilin province has been making the rounds on Chinese social media. The premise doesn't sound very intriguing, but what really attracted people's attention was the woman had her hand in the man's mouth. Apparently, they had tried to shoot a funny video to post online in which they tried to see if the woman's hand was small enough to fit in her boyfriend's mouth. She managed to stuff her fist into his mouth just fine, but when she tried to pull it out, his mouth muscles stiffened and the hand became stuck. After repeatedly trying to pull out her hand from the man's mouth, the young woman decided that they needed medical attention. Don't you hate when your mouth muscles stiffen and hands become stuck in your mouth? It's happened. It happens more than you know. Anyway, thank you so much. Let's get this show started. On the other side of this is Larry Sharpe. It's going to be great to catch up with Larry. Don't go anywhere, my friends, because it's going to be a very fine night here in New York. So get cozy.
I'll catch you on the...
That's how we say goodbye.
I want you to know that I've smoked pot.
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back. Does anybody else want to stay? Let's ride!
Sorry to say, I don't know who's being interviewed in the interview, but they are responding to something that is a very hot topic right now. That is what is going to happen with the Department of Education, the cherished Department of Education that so many people are worried about going away. Why? Because it has education in the name. So to eliminate it means you must be eliminating education. That's sad. Very sad thing. But I want you to listen to this, because this is a 1-minute clip on what the strategy for repurposing some of this function and dissipating the rest may be. And I think it's an interesting thing to kick this all off, because it's a more of a top-down idea. Then we're going to talk about constitutional bottom-up. So here you have it. Take a listen to this.
The Department of Education does not educate a single child in America. It does not run a single school. It does not pay a single teacher's salary. Some people are concerned about what eliminating the department might mean for students, despite the fact that their track record is terrible and it hasn't improved outcomes. You know, what about protections for, say, groups of kids with special needs, for example? I would note that the Education for All Handicapped Children Act was signed into law in 1975. It provides protections for kids with special needs. It predates the creation of the department. That goes nowhere. Spending for the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, IDA, that would move over to HHS. So that goes nowhere. The same would likely happen with Title I spending for low-income districts. It could be managed by HHS. Data collection, send it over to Commerce. Let the Census Bureau handle it. Student loans, send it to the Small Business Administration or the Treasury Department. So there are more appropriate receiving agencies where you could keep intact some of the appropriate functions of the department, but not actually have the infrastructure that is that massive bureaucratic boondoggle that Carter created.
So when you say appropriate and Department of Education, perhaps you can say, well, there's the intent, and it is actually serving that intent. That doesn't mean constitutional, of course. And now tonight, that was a little bit of a top-down, what is going to happen on the federal level. But tonight is really where the rubber meets the road. I'm so happy to be linking up with Larry Sharpe again. It's been years since he's been on. He is the host of The Sharpe Way, owner of Neosage Consulting, former 2018 and 2022 New York governor candidate over here. New York, I voted for him in 2018. Yes, and I don't think in 2022 I voted. So I forgot the hell is even going on. But Larry, welcome back to the show. It's great to have you here.
How are you doing, my brother? I'm happy to be here.
Oh, it's great to have you on. Wait, where the hell did your lower third go? Okay.
Did it go away?
No,
I don't
no.
have a lower third. No worries.
I'll work this out because we made one for you, and you're anyway. How's everything been? It's been years, and really, you were the first political candidate I ever interviewed, and it was a very, very intriguing night. This is why I had to bring you back.
I am glad. Look, I did run in 2022. Sadly, though, I got sued off the ballot, so you couldn't have voted for me either way, even if you wanted to. So I did run, but the glory of New York State is that while Republicans and Democrats say they hate each other, when it comes to throwing guys like me off the ballot, boy, do they get together. They love doing that together in a heartbeat. They literally threw me off the ballot. They sued me off.
Perhaps that's why I didn't vote. Perhaps it's because I didn't even know that you were meaning to run. You got sued out of view. What the hell was what was the lawsuit about?
Literally, last governor race was the first time in literally 80 years, 90 years that there was no independent candidate on the ballot for governor of New York. And last year, during the presidential election, New York State was the only state in the entire union that had no independent candidate for president on the ballot at all. Only one. New York State has decided that it is a one-party state. That's it. That's what you get. Shut up. Stop asking questions. Where I live in Queens, it's so bad that the Republicans where I live in Queens don't even bother running candidates anymore. So when guys went like Mamdani, the guy running for mayor, is my state senator. He wins 99-1. 1% is write-ins. That's Kim Jong-un numbers, right? That's Saddam Hussein. Putin wishes he got numbers like that. Like Putin's numbers are rookie numbers compared to what my guys get here. They win 99-1. That is how bad it is. They make sure they use the laws to ensure there's no competition. This is not about democracy. When the Democrats scream and yell about this is about democracy, I don't have it now. Where I live in New York City, and I'm not joking when I say this, I have no say in my government. I don't have say in government. The local level, state, federal, doesn't matter. Federal, the Democrat wins. So it doesn't matter, right? New York State was going to Harris no matter what I voted, so who cares? Number one. Number two, at a state level, well, the governor wins every time. A Republican has not won a statewide election in my state in 23 years. Nothing, not senator, not governor, not AG, nothing in 23 years. And the state's getting bluer, not redder, because all the red people are leaving. They're going to Florida, they're going to Tennessee, they're leaving. We lose 300,000 people every year. New York State brought in over 200,000 migrants last year and still lost 100,000 people. Let me say it again for those people in the back. We brought in over 200,000 migrants and we still lost 100,000 people this year. And Bill Maher talked about it on his show last Friday. There is a chance New York State will lose 2 more congressional seats in 2030. 2 more. We lost one last time. Now we might lose 2 more because people keep leaving the state. I'm not even done yet. At my local level now, at my state level now, where I am at my local state level, I should say, my local representative for the state. At that level, they don't run candidates anymore. The last time they ran a candidate that wasn't Democrat was 10 years ago. And 10 years ago, that guy lost by 70 points. Not 17, 70. He lost 85-15. They stopped. They're like, I'm done. If you call the Republican establishment where I am now, it's like some guy's dry cleaner. Like it's not even a building anymore. They've just given up. It's done. And now we go to my city. In my city, it's 6-1 Democrat to Republican. The state's almost 3-1. The city's 6-1. There is no chance of anybody other than Democrat winning. I'm not a Democrat. We don't have open primaries. I don't get to vote in the primary. Therefore, I don't get to vote at all. I literally have no say in my government at city, state, federal level. And you're crying to me about democracy? I don't have democracy. I just have to hope I get a good king or queen. That's my democracy. My democracy is, I hope I get a good queen or a good king. I hope so. That's my democracy.
You know, you and I are in the same position. And people will ask time and time again, well, listen, if there is no representation of your interest in any way, shape, or form, why are you still over there? Now, I keep going. I mean, it's a lot harder for somebody to, I don't know. It's hard for me to think about uprooting everything, my family, everything I built here with my profession, whatever it's just hard to say leaving right now. I have intentions of retiring somewhere else, being out, but I guess it has to be the same thing for you.
40% of all the people who are getting pensions from New York State don't live in New York State. That is how bad it is. And we are paying pension dollars every year. There's no trust fund where pensions come out of. You and me pay taxes to pay pensions. That's how it works. When it comes to education, 20% of all the dollars that goes to education in New York City goes to pensions. 20%. And 40% of them don't live in New York. So we are literally paying people pensions. Look, they earn their pension. I'm mad enough having a pension. But I'm mad at us for having a state where nobody wants to retire in.
Yep.
So they leave and they go to Florida, right? Florida used to be a swing state. Now it's a red state. Why? Because New Yorkers went there. We left in America. We left and we went to Florida, which made it a red state. That's how that works. So you're right. Now I thought of leaving. I don't know if I told you the story.
No.
Back in 2017, I was considering leaving. Now what I do for my day job is I'm a business consultant. That's what I do for a living. I need big businesses to make my money so I can pay my bills here in New York City. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to pack up and I'm going to leave and I'm going to go to someplace in the South. And at the time, I thought maybe it was going to be Charlotte, because Charlotte's a big city in the South, a lot of big businesses. I can make money there. I'll go there. What did I do? I went there. I physically went there and I looked around and it was amazing. I could sell my shoebox of a house here in Queens, buy a mansion in North Carolina, pay less taxes, be happier. And I was like, this is a great idea. And then I came back home to New York and I thought, you know what? I'm pissed off. Why does my state suck? Instead of me moving, I got mad. And I said, why do I have a beautiful state, the most beautiful state in the entire union, destroyed by a horrible government? Why? You know what? I'm going to run for governor. I'm going to win and I'm going to fix the state. As you know, that did not go as planned, but that was the plan. So, but when I ran, I recognized how bad it was. I recognized how broken it was. I recognized how corrupt it was. And I said, I'm going to do it again. And I did the second time out of spite, right? Just anger. So then I ran again. And then that's when they went, no, Larry, you can't do that. Because you probably remember this. In 2018, I actually got ballot access. I got 100,000 votes and I got ballot access for the state, for the Libertarian Party. So what did I do? I crossed the state again in 2019. And when I crossed the state, I was helping local people grow, grassroots, bottom up. We talk about grassroots, bottom up. I did that. We had 107 victories in 2019. 107. We had 0 libertarians in 2018. 107 in 2019. They were all local. But so what? I didn't care. Good. That's the point. Let's bottom up, move up. And then Cuomo said, oh, okay, no, that's not going to work. We got to get rid of this. He changed all the laws during the COVID lockdowns, destroyed the party, wrecked us completely, and then made insanely impossible laws. And then they sued me off the ballot in 2022, and the Libertarian Party is broken and it all got trashed. So have I thought of leaving? Yes. I then thought of leaving and going to Chattanooga. I was going to go to Tennessee because Tennessee has no state income tax. Maybe I'll go there. Chattanooga's in between 2 hubs. It's right between Atlanta and between Nashville. I thought maybe I'll go there. Then I got mad again.
You know what? I'm pissed too. I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
I got mad. I'm like, why do I gotta leave my family, my friends, my business? I got mad again. So I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna stay. Maybe I'll run one more time. And now I gotta decide if I'm running again next year. I may run again next year. It's my 3rd time. Maybe the 3rd time's a charm. It took Reagan 3 times, took Biden 3 times, took Nixon 3 times. Maybe that's it. Maybe that's my thing.
I'll be behind you if you did. So. If you did, I that would be amazing. It really would, because I don't know. There's a lot of things that have to get done from an election standpoint. We talk to a lot of people who are investigating what's really going on with the voter rolls, all of the greatest anomalies that are happening from state to state. New York is atrocious. But, there's other things going on, even in big picture. Very, very quick before we move on specifically to education. What do you think about because government efficiency is the biggest discussion happening right now. What do you think about all the DOGE audits? It's not surprising you, I know, but still, what do you think?
I'm worried, but at the same time, I'm good with it. Both. And let me explain why.
Okay.
Do I think that the best way is to just end things and rip the Band-Aid off and destroy them? I don't. I wish we could do it better. I wish we could slowly phase everything out. I wish that were a better way of doing it. The sad part is that's never going to happen. The sad part is no one's made any attempt to do that. No one's even trying to do that. And so we are stuck with having to just rip the Band-Aid off. And it's going to hurt some people, but I can't see a better answer, right? It's similar to Malay in Argentina. They spent decades destroying that country. Malay had to use a chainsaw. There was no other way but chainsaw. And a year later after Malay, overall, Argentina is far better than it's been, right? Overall, it's far better than it's been. Some people suffered because when you use a chainsaw, people suffer. So sadly, if DOGE does what it's going to do, some people are going to suffer, and that sucks. I wish they wouldn't. But I don't see any other way for change. When the Democrats have had this for 12 years, Trump had it before for 4, Bush had it for 8, no real changes in this, no even talk of cutting, nothing. So I accept the rip off the Band-Aid, even though I would prefer a better way. There is no other way. I wish there was. So that's why you just rip it off and keep moving. So, but my worry, here's my worry. My worry is it isn't effective. It was the same worry I had with Malay. Malay has made me happy with what he's done. My worry was he would screw it up and people will go, oh, see, libertarian doesn't work, blah, blah, blah. He hasn't done that. My worry with DOGE is that the deep state or permanent Washington is so strong that they somehow stop him from being effective. And then people say, see, we had DOGE, it didn't work. Libertarianism is BS. That's my concern. So I don't know if that will happen. I think we have to give him about a year and see if next year's budget will tell us. If next year's budget is the same as this year's budget, it failed. If next year's budget is actually cut by what they say, look, he initially said $2 trillion. I don't need $2 trillion. I will be happy $2 trillion. I'll take $500 billion. If there's $500 billion, discount in our debt and in our budget, that's a win. DOGE is working. If it's the same thing, it didn't work. It's a failure and it's going to hurt us. So I think we have to wait a year.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. There has to be meaningful. There has to be some kind of a meaningful follow up to it all, and not only just the cutting, but also some serious investigation. Because not all of this is just this is not all altruism right here, and I'm sure you know that. But so let's get on to, because I'm glad that you talked about phasing things out and whatever. Education.
Yep.
A lot of craziness with the Department of Education. There was a lot of wailing about the Department of Education being broken up and repurposed, a while ago. But with you, when I got to talk to you in 2018, you were proposing ideas on the campaign trail that would have not only freed New York from the need for federal Department of Education money, among others, but it would have revolutionized the way that we approached higher learning, higher education in general. Could you take us through those phases? Because this right here is an example of what I want people to start considering, with the real solutions being the 10th Amendment, being the states finding their political and financial autonomy again, and line item vetoing DC. So let's just talk about education, what you had in mind, because this was awesome.
This is the piece that, people will talk. Let me talk about the Department of Education, and then I'll move to New York State if I could.
Okay.
Ending the DOE. I know people are afraid. I get it. I understand the fear. Here's the thing to remember. Every president we've ever had has been educated prior to the Department of Education. Just keep that in mind. Somehow, we were able to create 47 presidents, and you must like some of them because people do, without a DOE. Somehow, we went to the moon without a DOE. Somehow, we created the internet without a DOE. So somehow that happened. We literally, DOE started to have any power whatsoever in the 1980s. The internet already existed, not in its current form, but it existed already. We'd already gone to the moon. We've already had, all of our presidents had already graduated from high school already. No, the youngest one was Obama, and he graduated in 1980. So he graduated too. So every president already done. The states can do it. They've proven it. They've proven it already with all of those things. So it can be destroyed. It does not matter. Now, it does matter. I'm sorry. The DOE is literally harming, not helping, because it by default controls schools. People will tell you it doesn't control schools. It doesn't decide X, Y, or Z, but it does because of cash. New York State gets over $8 billion. Connecticut gets over $6 billion. States get anywhere from $2 to $10 billion from the federal government for their schooling. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of control. So what I want to do is break that. And one of the first things I'm going to do is I want to change K through 12. I'll cover college and K through 12. K through 12. K through 12 should not be K through 12. That's stupid. It's unnecessary. It shouldn't exist. The last 2 years of high school for most kids, particularly the last year of high school for most kids, is video games, weed, and gym. I mean, it's nothing. It's a waste of time. Most stuff you don't even pay attention to. How do I know that to be true? because the average kid now in America, it takes them 6 years to graduate college. The average 6 years, if he even graduates. And if it's a he, odds are he's not going to graduate. If it's a she, probably will, but it's going to take an average of 6 years. Why? Because the first year of college is 13th grade, because no one's ready for college, right? So it's 13th grade. So you've got a year of just figuring out like how to spell and stuff. They recently had an example of a girl in Connecticut, I think it was Hartford, who graduated valedictorian. I'm not joking. Do your homework and check this out. Valedictorian. She graduated valedictorian in Connecticut, and she's suing because she's functionally illiterate. That is our current system. That's how bad it is. So in any case, it's a waste of time for most anyway. So instead, K through 10. That's it. Now, K through 10. The last 2 years of high school, which will be K through 10, those 2 years are spent heavily on understanding how to be an adult. How to be an adult. What things do I like? What things do I want to do? What do I care about? Standardized testing is gone, unnecessary. Let each school district have their own districts, their own tests on moving people up in whatever grade they want to move up to. All good. And then K through 10, at that time you can take all these tests you want, but they are tests on how good are you at things, aptitude, things like that. So you get to know, hey, wait a minute, maybe I'm good at math and I should go into sciences, or maybe I'm good at my hands, maybe I should start building things. Whatever the case may be, you begin to figure things out. You start that at K through 10. You then take a test at 10th grade. If you pass that test, you have a high school diploma. Done. At that point, you have to keep going though, because our Constitution, insanely stupidly, forces the state to pay for 1st through 12th grade. We must pay. It's a right in New York State. We must pay for it. Okay, got it. Got to pay for it. So how do I pay for that? Here's what I do. I do the same thing that I did when I was a Marine. When I got a Marine Corps, the Marine Corps gave me like $50,000, whatever it was. I forgot what it was. And like 10 years to use it. We give every single New York kid, we give them $20,000 in an account, obviously, to be paid for education, and 5 years to use it. What is going to happen? The next 2 years, you're going to see a bunch of schools pop up, because now the kid has 5 options. Option 1, you know what? I don't like this, what they're teaching me. I want to go to a specialized school. I want to go to a BOCES or a trade school. Good, go to 2 years trade school. Go to a trade school, 2 years. It'll cost $20,000, because that's what happens when the government gives you free money. That's what it costs. $20,000 for your 2-year trade school, and you'll come out either with a license if that's required, or an apprenticeship, or whatever's required, depending upon what you want to achieve. You'll be able to move off. And now you'll be 18 years old and be able to have a job and work and make money if you want to. But Larry, I go and make money for 2 years and I don't like being this thing. Awesome. Now you can go to college if you want to. You have some experience. You know what you actually like. You can actually go with a purpose. Number 1. Number 2, you go, you know what? No. I do want to go to college. And I know what kind of college I want to go to. I'm going to do this kind of thing. Awesome. Go to a 2-year prep school. Now you go to a 2-year prep school. So now when you go to college, you are ready for college. The prep school preps you for college. So when you get there, you can graduate in 2 or 3 years, cutting down cash and everything. Done, because you can graduate. Half the stuff you'll learn in the 2-year school will be stuff you've learned there. How do I know that? I did it with my daughter. My daughter is 20. She graduated from college 2 years early. Why? Her last year of school high school was COVID lockdowns. I told her, don't go to school. She said, what? I said, don't go to school. Don't waste your time. It's New York City. They graduate no matter what, because they graduate everybody. It doesn't matter. Don't show up. You'll get a high school diploma. I'll put you in college now. So I put her in college the first year while she was officially in high school. They gave her a degree at the end of it, because they always do. She got her high school diploma, and she got a year of college knocked out. Then I had her go to summer school and take pep test, and she graduated in 2 years. So I just practiced what I preached. Right? So now you do the 2-year prep school. Now you get to graduate college in 2 years. Now you're out with your degree at 20. You can, if you're going to go off to a master's degree, a doctor's degree, good for you. You can go. If you're going to be a doctor or a lawyer, go to specialized school. All good. Sets you up. You go, I don't want any of those. No worries. Why don't you instead go to a liberal arts school now in high school? So go to a 2-year liberal arts school to figure out what you want, and decide if you then want to go to a specialized school once you're 18. You'll only require 2 years. Why? All of your electives will be covered already, and the government just paid for it. Done. Okay, I don't want any of that. No worries. Go get a job. Just go work. Yep. And I hear people go, wait a minute, Larry, you're 16 years old. You want me to go work? You want kids working? Shut up. Anyone who says that is a moron. You're not going to die in a loom accident or something. This isn't, I got killed in a bobbin pit. Stop. This is not the 1800s. Going to work at 16, you'll learn an actual work ethic. Most of the time, people don't want to hire Gen Z. Why? They believe they don't have a work ethic. And why? Because many of them don't. Why would they? They've been coddled all the way through high school, coddled through college, and they come out thinking they're going to get something great, and they've been coddled. They never taught how to have a work ethic. I have guys who I'd go out when I travel the state, and one would say literally, hey, here's my way of hiring people. I tell the guy the appointment's at 8 o'clock. I open the door at 7:55. If he's there, he's hired. Done. That's it. If he shows up, he's got a work ethic. Okay, he's hired. That's it. Now, I told that story to somebody else when I was at one of my other events. And the guy goes, oh my God, Larry, he's so right. I had 12 appointments this week for interviews. 6 were no-shows, 4 were late. 2 showed up on time and I did it. So yes, get a work ethic. Learn that when your boss says 9 o'clock, he means 8:45, not 10:30, right? Learn that now when you're 16, 17 years old. So by the time you're 18, you recognize, wait a minute, that's what I need to do. Or start a business. Either one, I don't care. I worked when I was 16. I worked literally, look, I'm a little bit older than you. When I literally worked in a distribution shop I used to sort beer bottles by color for recycling. That was my job at 16. So I'd put the green in the green and the brown and the brown and the white and brown, and they'd wrap it up, and then the forklift guy would come by and take them out for recycling. That was my job at 16. Did I die? Was I killed? Did something terrible happen? Was I No, of course not. I learned.
They're the best jobs for 16-year-olds. That's summer money. That's you don't have the overhead like you do at 26.
You just brought that up, right? People say the same thing. Larry, they're 16. They're going to make mistakes. The price for failure at 16 is nothing compared to the price of failure at 26. Nothing. You fail at 26, you're in trouble. You fail at 16, you'll get over it. It's fine. You can deal with that. You still hold on with mom and pop probably. You can handle some stuff. But here's the next thing. If you're able to actually get your act together by the time you're 20, now you can get something going for your life to find a partner, to find a girlfriend or a boyfriend, to think about where you want to move. All those things you can do at that level. But I'm still not done. But Larry, wait a minute. That's $20,000. Where's that money coming from? New York State right now spends $35,000 per kid per year. Per kid per year. So what does that cost? $70,000. You're only paying 20. That's it. So you just saved a whole bunch of money. How do I know you could do that? Because the average private school tuition in New York State is only about $7,000. So it's $3,000 more than the average private school already is. So I know private school can do it better. They're doing it now. How do I know private school is better? Because the wealthy go to private school. That's how I know it's better. So I have evidence of everything I'm saying. I'm not just making this stuff up. There's evidence of all of this stuff. And that would work that way. You now cut that out. But I have to go even further. How do you fund K through 10 in the first place? Right now, it's through horrible property tax and everything else that we do in terrible and federal funds. Don't do that anymore. We're going to fund it through what's called the New York State Social Trust. What does that mean? We're going to create an actual sovereign fund for New York State. Larry, is that a thing? It is. Some of the countries that are the happiest and have the most social programs have one. Norway has one. Singapore has one. We need to have one of those. We're New York State. We have the financial center of the entire country here in New York. If we can't do it, then no one can. Period. Not just that. That will stop these big companies from putting money into real estate. Right now, people are putting money into real estate. Big businesses putting money into real estate. Why? It's cheap. Life is good. Let's put money into real estate. Let's make everybody a renter. Let's make sure no one else can buy a house. Let's make renting properties terrible. Okay, don't do that. Put it into my social trust. Put it into my social trust. You'll get a cutback. You'll start making tons of money, just like the guys in Singapore and Norway are making. You'll make money that way. Don't put it into real estate. All of a sudden, they put it into this. As they put it into this, within the first year or two, we can start paying for school directly. And we will pay a very simple way. $18,000 per kid in the district. That's it. That's the money you get. You might go, well, Larry, is that enough? Yes. How do I know? Because every other state, except for us, has $20,000 or less. So it can be done. And it's over double what private schools do. So you get it automatically. But not just that, it's per district. But Larry, what if my kid wants to move? I don't care. You go wherever you want. If a district says, I want more kids and wants to create a busing system, it can. I don't mind. Let's do what it wants. There will be no strings from the federal government. No strings from the state government. There is your money. Enjoy. And they go, why does that matter? Because right now, if you're in New York State and you don't spend your money, you lose it. That is our current system. How insanely stupid is that?
Yeah.
And that's our system. So what happens? It's the end of the year and they go, we got like $4,000 left. What should we do? I don't know. Can we buy some paper? And you wonder why you find things like they bought paper for $10,000. What a scam. That wasn't a scam. They wanted to get rid of the money or they'd lose it. So they went to the paper guy and said, hey, you got any extra paper? Yeah, we got paper. We got 10 grand. Yeah, I'll give you my paper 10 grand. Done. So now they got a room full of paper they're not going to use, but they spent 10 grand. The vendor loves them because the vendor just got 10 grand when it should have got 5. Everybody's happy. That's why this kind of stuff happens. It is literally made to be corrupt. But if you just get the money, and guess what happens? Here's the best part. What happens if you don't spend all your money? You get to keep it. You get to save it. And you get to build your new football stadium when you decide to build a football stadium. But not just that. Why does that matter? Because right now, you build a football stadium when the governor's friend who has a construction company decides they want to grift off the government and build all the football stadiums. That's how that works. How do I know that? Because Kathy Hochul last year said one of her priorities, I'm not joking, is teaching black kids to swim. That was one of her priorities. And she said that openly during her State of the Union address. Why would she all of a sudden care about black kids swimming? Because she has friends who build swimming pools. So now she can take all that money, give it to them for the construction companies to build a bunch of swimming pools. She doesn't care if these kids swim or not. It's irrelevant to her. That's what happens. Oh, but I'm still not done. You think I'm done? I'm not even done with that. On top of that, $18,000 to each for every district. And if your kid, if you want to go to homeschool or private school, you get a $6,000 credit. Now, what does that do? Okay, I don't like my local school district. They're not doing what I want. I want to have more civics. I want to have more home ec. I want to have more so-and-so. By the way, now you can, because without the federal government telling you what to do, you could actually have that. The reason why we don't have civics, the reason why we don't have all those things is the federal government says all that matters is math and language arts. We don't even call it English. We call it language arts. Because English, obviously, you're an hysterophobe.
Yeah.
So you can't be called English.
Right.
So it's language arts and math. That's it. That's why they teach that. That's why you don't get anything else. Because all that matters is the test.
It says a lot. It says a lot that the federal government would exclude civics so that people don't know how the federal government's supposed to work.
Yes, absolutely. That's not on the test. They don't care about that.
Yeah.
They'd rather you not know what's going on. Oh, I'm still not done. Now you add that $6,000. Now you can go to either private school or you can go to a homeschool. What does that mean? Now that means the actual local school district, to keep all its cash, has to make sure they're keeping students. They're now competing against private schools and homeschooling. Michael, but Larry, why only 6,000? Because I don't want to break up communities. So just because you're homeschooled or just because you are a private school, you should still be able to be on the local football team or the math club or go to the prom.
That's
or whatever
awesome.
You want.
That's a great idea.
I want the kids to still use the library and all that stuff. Still be together. You're still a community. But your mom thinks that you want, this, and your dad thinks this guy wants that. No worries. Keep the community together, right? So it can still work either way. Oh, but Larry, you must be done now. Oh, no, my friend, I'm still not done. Now, when you add all of that together, here's what happens. Once the trust is now paying for school taxes, why do you require school taxes? You don't. Depending upon who you are across the state, about half of your property tax is school tax. So you've just cut property tax in half across New York State. Now people might actually stay here. People might actually want to retire here because your property taxes got cut in half. Not just that, rents can come down. Not just that, people can actually afford to buy a house because the property tax was cut in half. Because you don't have to pay for schools anymore. Done.
And then you reopen Indian Point, and we can bring down the jeez.
I would say don't even reopen. Oh, as I mentioned, don't reopen Indian Point. Instead, build 3 nuclear reactors in North Country. And you want to build 3 nuclear reactors. Number 1, the first reactor is made literally just to make money to help fill the social trust, right? It just is to sell energy. That's one. Second one is to actually make sure the area has electricity. But the third one is to support blockchain mining. So you create 3 of those right there. 1, 2, and 3. All 3 of them. Now what do you have? You have a way of the state making money that fills the trust. The trust keeps getting filled, right? So people keep getting their services they need. Awesome. 2, you get energy in New York without having to buy it, right? Right on top of that. So you get cash, you get energy. And 3, you have a dedicated service that will assist and will make people run to New York State to take care of all their blockchaining. They'll rush here to mine for the blockchain. They will rush here. because there's the energy for it. Keep going. I got a nuclear power plant. Go, brother, go. You do that, that'll bring a revitalization to our state. You will see everything change. People will start to come down. You will watch things happen if we did these things.
Larry,
Now,
wow.
last piece I'll give you is colleges. We are rushing the colleges now because right now in New York State, you will find the guidance counselors say, don't go to BOCES, don't go here, don't go there, don't do those things because that's what the dumb kids do. That's what the bad kids do. Why would they say that? Because they get paid from the federal government by college acceptance. That's part of the reasons, right? Well, once the federal government goes away, nobody cares. Now the guidance council will tell you what you should actually do. That would actually work, right? That's the issue. You'll see that change. But Larry, how do you pay for college if the Department of Energy is gone? Department of Education is gone. Here's how you deal with it when it comes to the federal side, not the state side. You simply allow the colleges themselves to finance their own tuition. The vast majority of these colleges have massive endowments of millions and billions of dollars, tons of them, lots of them, most of them do. When I was a kid and you go buy a car, you'd like a car, you then go to a bank and you tell the bank what the VIN number is and the car you want to buy. The bank would give you a loan and then you get a check from the bank and you go over and you would pay for the car. Not how it works anymore. Now you want to buy a Ford or you want to buy a Honda, whatever. Who actually finances it? It's Honda Finance Company or Ford Finance Company. They finance their own cars, right? Let them finance their own business, their own tuition. Well, wait a minute. Why would he do that? Because right now a college has literally no incentive at all to give you a valuable degree. None. Their job is to give you a sheet of paper, take the money from the government and say, have a nice day. Why? You're not the customer. The customer is the government, not you.
Great point.
So they care about the government. You're not the customer. You don't matter. Who cares? Right? You don't get a job. So what? I'm getting my money. I'm getting paid. I don't care if you get a job. Be a barista. Well, have debt forever. I don't give a shit. I'm getting paid. I don't care. But if all of a sudden now I have to finance it, if you don't get a job, I don't get paid. If you don't get real skills, I don't get paid. I need to make sure you get a job and get paid so I can get paid. We've just aligned our goals. Now there are no goals that are aligned for college. That's why college people don't care. The goals aren't aligned. Who cares? You align those goals, change everything. Not just that, the dumb, the silly examples they have of like, I'm going to get one in, I don't know, colonization in media, right? That kind of degree will actually only cost about 10 grand. Why? Because you're going to be a barista. And they know that. So they know that. So they're like, okay, that one costs 10 grand and we'll finance you 10 grand because that you can probably pay back. That's not going to, now that degree costs 100 grand now because they don't care. They're going to get paid. It's a garbage degree. You get no job with it. They know it. They don't care. But the government's paying because the government is the customer. But if you're the customer, that degree is like 5 grand. That's all because they can't afford to you can't pay anything else back. You're a barista.
The problem is this makes it's so clear and makes so much sense. That's the sad thing. That's why this is a problem. It makes sense. There's so many things cropped up in my head right now, but I also have some numbers.
I'm sorry, I gave you a lot, didn't I? Apologize.
No.
So I just kept going.
This is I came here to let you loose. So this is what I wanted, but it's not only innovative. And this is an example as to what, if you're in Rhode Island right now, you should be letting your mind run free with what you can experiment with in your state to make things that are customized for your people with what you can generate in state work for you. This is what we have in this union right now, 50 experimentation zones. But, and that's the other thing here. It's also constitutional. But the problem here, of course, is that the culture, Larry, is post-constitutional, as you know. So aside from needing large enough coalition inside of the state legislature to make these things happen, you would also need to game plan for a political war with D.C. Now, here's a question I wanted to ask you based on some numbers I had to look up when I started getting curious about this. I might be off by a couple of billion, who knows? But here's what I found. What's
a couple of billion between friends?
Nothing. I found that there was an estimated $115 billion or so in combined healthcare and education money that is taken from New Yorkers by way of income tax and everything else. So they take from New Yorkers, $115 billion, and they send it to DC. Now for $115 billion, we've killed for far less money than $115 billion, if for no other reason than just to send a message that you better keep kicking up. But in the event that you had your caucus in New York and a mandate to do what you just said, what do you think the war with DC will look like when they learn that you will be essentially line item vetoing much of that $115 billion?
Yeah, the first thing to remember is we learned this when Trump decided to stop all the payments, right? About 36%, give or take, of every state's budget is federal money. That's an embarrassment. We should be ashamed of that. We send about $3 trillion, the entire country, up to DC to come back maybe 2/3 of that. 1/3 of that is sheer grift, just grift. It's just robbery, blatant robbery. 2/3 comes back, right? Give or take in that regard, with tons of strings attached. Why do we do this? It's insane that we do it, but we do. So yes, you're totally correct. We should not be doing that. So that's the first piece to understand. The second piece to understand from that piece was you had 7 attorneys general get together and say, we have to fight this. Why? Because people depend on this money for schools, for roads, for childcare. And they were proud of that. We just told the world that each state is so broken. We can't feed our kids. We can't educate our kids. We can't build roads without the federal government. That's embarrassing.
Yeah, it's bad.
Not just that. We had got the idiot out of Connecticut. He was like, and there's so many of just are insanely stupid. He's like, we've been doing this for 300 years, sending our money to Washington and having to come back and fix it. No, we haven't. Income tax is only 100 years old. And somehow we fought wars. Somehow we built roads. We did all these things with no income tax. I don't know how we did it, but there was roads before that. There was buildings before that. There were wars for it before that. Somehow we did it, but no, it's insanely stupid. So that's piece number one. But to your other point, what would it look like? First thing is, I can't stop it immediately. I have to be able to actually show that the state can do the work. Now, while the state's doing the work, the federal government will begin suing me. That's how they do it. They'll start suing me. And I know that will happen. I won't care. But Larry, you can't control the Congress, the state assembly. I can. And here's how I control the state assembly in my state. You might go, Larry, they'll just, every time you do a veto, they'll just override it because there's a supermajority in our assembly. Here's the issue. There's no supermajority in my Senate in New York State. So all I need is about 5 people to become libertarians when I become governor. Those 5 people will control the state Senate via swing vote. So I will control the Senate. So nothing gets passed unless I say so. That's how I control my assembly. So the assembly can be, I already had a plan for this. The assembly can be controlled. So locally, I can control the assembly by controlling the state Senate. 5 people turn around. You might go, Larry, can you get 5 people? I already know the 5. I already know them. And what people don't realize is how the system works in all the areas, but particularly in New York State, is seniority is everything. So if you're new, you have no power. You do nothing. You just sit back and they tell you to shut up. Sit back and shut up. Well, those guys, you can become a libertarian, or whatever I am, and all of a sudden now you're running things. You got all kind of power. Just come on in. Easily people will come on board just for their own self-interest. So that's piece one. So now when they sue me, what am I going to do? I'm going to ignore them. That's it. I'm going to ignore them. And when they say you can't ignore us, I'm going to say literally publicly to everyone, you are the reason my state's a disaster. You are the reason people keep leaving my state. You are the reason why 50% of my people are on Medicare or Medicaid. You are the reason why that's the case. So no, I'm just not doing it. If you want to send the army in, go ahead. In fact, you keep talking, I'm going to take my National Guard from you. I'm just going to take my National Guard. You don't get it anymore. Sorry, no National Guard. Now, that will take several years. Once I have a couple of years, if I get one more victory, I now have a mandate. At that point, I sue the federal government. And I say, I'm not going to pay your taxes anymore because I'm not taking your services. I now sue them. That's what I start doing. I start suing the federal government saying, no, I'm not. And here's the best part. Once I do that and I have some success, but I have to have success first, other states will too.
That's why
Guarantee other states will too. And once other states start doing it, it ends it. That is actually the only way we end the income tax. I'm not joking. That's how you win the income tax. Because the income tax should not exist. It's a horrible idea. It should not exist. But we're never just going to repeal it. That's not a thing. But if all of a sudden states start saying, I didn't take your education money. I've got my own National Guard. I don't need it. No, I'm not going to let you take my income tax. No, I'm going to sue you and stop.
Larry,
I'm going to order them to stop.
Listen.
When that happens, other states do it and it ends income tax.
You just take this into consideration because we're talking about the income tax. This was a hilarious little bit of math I did do. We are sent. Okay, so New Yorkers are we're taken for the amount of $115 billion or so every year in combined healthcare and education. So that's what they take from us. Yep. We are then sent back $72 billion from
about two-thirds.
Medicaid and education, with about $8 billion for education. It just makes you wonder why we even had to do all that jerking around just to be robbed of $43 billion. Just send us $43 billion. Why are we sending, why are they?
Yes.
It's so crazy. Just
say,
middle.
Look, here's my cut. Give me $43 billion and I won't mess with you. It's protection. It's a protection racket, right? Send me $43 billion. I don't go back and forth. In fact, I won't even tax your people. Just write me a check. Write me a check from New York State to the federal government. Keep your money. I won't mess with you anymore. Just here's your money. Yes, I'd rather have that. At least it's open. At least now I know, okay, I'm working with the mob. This is my protection racket. And then I can negotiate. Hey, can we do 235 this year? Right? I can negotiate back and forth on how much money I'm paying. And that's it. I completely agree. I think that should be done. But we have to work on the medical issue also. Everything that's expensive in our state, everything is run by the government. And that's not an exaggeration. Schooling, hospitals run by the government. Most people don't realize you can't build a hospital in New York State unless the governor says yes. He controls all the beds. I'm not joking. It's called a certificate of need. So what you do as governor is the first thing you do is you say, every certificate of need is by default yes. Just yes. It frees the idea of people being able to open up whatever they want. And they might go, but Larry, that's crazy. We have to heavily regulate the medical industry. Why? Well, because then people will be dying. Okay, first off, people are dying now. The number 2 reason for people dying in the country, number 2 and number 3, is medical malpractice.
Yep.
Happening already. So this dystopian world you dream of is today. That's already happening, number 1. But here's the second piece. Look at a parallel medical community, and that is non-essential, right? So essential and then non-essential. Non-essential is things like cosmetic surgery, body enhancements, cosmetic dentistry, LASIK eye surgery. In every single case, the government is not directly involved like that at all. It has light regulation. I'm not heavily regulated in every one of those cases. And in most of those cases, no insurance. When those things aren't involved, what happens every single time? Price comes down, quality goes up, accessibility goes up. Every single time. When the government's involved, what happens? Price goes up, service goes down, accessibility goes down. Every single time. Why would we be afraid? Now, we can fix this in another way, another plan to fix this too. Most people laugh at libertarians and go, libertarians never have any answer. They just have policy. They just have words and phrases and ideas, but no real policy. Often true. I'm the exception. You want to fix this? Here's how you do it. In New York State, we already know about how much everyone's going to pay. We know, we have actuaries who know if you're X years old, male or female, have these preconditions, you're probably going to spend X dollars, whatever those dollars are. Sake of argument, it's $3,000. They know this already. Great. You get your $3,000. You get your $3,000 in a credit card or an EBT card, something like that. You get it in a card. You can swipe it whenever you want. And as long as it's a medical facility, swipe it. Wait a minute. I can just swipe it? Yeah, swipe it. Huh. Why would I want to do that? Because now you can go to private doctors if you want to. Why do I want to do that? Because private doctors are better. How do I know that? Rich people go there. That's how I know. I live in New York City. It's a 2-tiered system. You either have insurance or you don't. If you have insurance, you go to a place where you call in advance. You get seen maybe a week or 2 out if you're lucky. Otherwise, you have to go to urgent care. And when you get there, your appointment is for 2 o'clock. You get seen 3:45. There are more administrators than doctors. There's 5 administrators, 2 doctors. They care more about photocopying your information than you. The place you stay is that your waiting room is probably old from like 1975. It's all terrible and bad. That's how it is. When your doctor sees you for maybe 5 or 10 minutes. And every time it ends with either a procedure, a test, or prescription. Why? That's how the doctor gets paid, right? Why? Again, you're not the customer. The customer is either an insurance company or, in the case of New York, probably the government, because over 50% of New Yorkers are in Medicaid or Medicare. So probably the government, but it could be an insurance company, either one of those two. You're in the way. You're not the customer. Now, if you're wealthy, you go to a private doctor. You call him up and say, when can you see me? He says, can you come in today? Yeah, how's 3 o'clock? Done. You show up at 3 o'clock. You show up at 3 o'clock, you get seen latest 3:05. Latest. You swipe your card, you get paid. It's anywhere from $100 to $300, depending on where you go in New York City, right? One of those two. He sees you or she sees you. And when she talks to you, she asks you actual questions. He sees you for like 20 minutes, half an hour maybe. How are you sleeping? How are you eating? What's your stress level? Blah, blah, blah. Real test, whatever the case may be. And depending upon what facility you're in, the test may be right there. Sometimes they have it, and that's part of your 150 because the test is right there. They already have the person there. It's all good. They have it there. And when you leave, they don't give you a prescription because you don't need one. They'll say, go to Dwayne Reed and buy some aspirin or whatever the case may be. But if you go to a doctor that takes insurance, they'll prescribe Tylenol. They'll prescribe aspirin. They'll prescribe stuff you can just buy in a drugstore. Why? They get paid. That's why they do it. Whole different world. But now all of a sudden I can swipe. I've got insurance. I'm on Medicare, but I can swipe if I want to. Okay. I'm going to go to a private doctor. Why? Because I can just call them up. I swipe. I go to that place. There's 5 doctors and 2 administrators. I get seen at 3:05, not 3:45. And it's a nice place to sit because I'm the customer. That's amazing. But Larry, what if that runs out? What if that runs out? You still have Medicare, Medicare. I didn't end it. It's still there if you need it. So if you have a big problem, what happens? Over time, more and more people start going to private doctors. What happens? Less doctors start taking insurance. By default. Not just that, doctors start lowering their prices. How do I know that? I just explained to you how it works in every other world. The prices start coming down because they want your money.
It's happening.
They want your EBT.
And
you see it.
And even personally with me, like I said,
Yes.
my family doctor I met at a farmer's market in Westchester in 2017 or so. We pay her directly a little bit every month.
Yep.
I can text her at 2 a.m. if something's wrong. So the direct care model is definitely coming back. We talk about it all the
100%.
time. And this would incentivize that.
100%. So over time, people would simply stop. And what would happen? Medicare, Medicaid should be what it should be, which is catastrophic insurance. That's all it should be. It should be catastrophic insurance. So I get hit by a bus and I've got to be laid up for 6 months in a hospital, or I get cancer or something. Okay, it's for that. And that's what it should be. It should just be a place where if things go horribly wrong, otherwise you should be able to have a very inexpensive way of making things happen. And we see it happen all the time. It could easily happen that way. This will take time. This is not 5 minutes.
Right.
This is years. But over time, that would happen. And again, once one state does it, the others begin to follow, because the best doctors will rush to this model. The sad part is there are a lot of people who know the system's broken, and what they do literally is they say things like, "It's Medicare for all," and I get Medicare for all. I understand the concept behind it, right? The idea is everyone gets covered. I understand that, but here's the problem: the people who say Medicare for all, they don't actually mean Medicare for all. They mean Medicare for y'all. They're going to keep their private doctors. They want you guys to have Medicare. The poors get Medicare, right? But the wealthy people, they're not getting rid of the doctors. They're wealthy. They're keeping the doctors. So you poors get that over there. And then what they really mean is VA for all, right? That's what they really mean. And if you're a veteran, that's not great. So you get VA for all you guys. We keep our great doctors, and the best doctors are going to come to us. Why? It's a better environment. Why do most doctors leave in America? It's not because they don't like the patients. It's the system they care. Why is so many doctors getting bought up by big banks? Because they can't survive without it. Why is somebody not right now? Why is it harder and harder to find a doctor who's born in America? It's harder and harder. Why? Because American-born doctors telling their children, don't become a doctor. And that's been happening for about 20 years now. So now you're finding doctors telling their kids, don't do this. It's not a good world. Don't do it. So what's happening? You're only getting doctors from overseas because they haven't seen how bad our system is. Then they come here and go, this is terrible. Oh my God, this is horrible. And they tell their kids, don't do it. I regret it. Don't do it. That's what's happening right now.
I know that you are, and thankfully so, you are focused on thinking and acting locally, because that is the American constitutional way. That is
correct.
The best way that we're going to be able to do anything.
Yep.
For the next couple of years, that we have an interesting situation at HHS with Robert Kennedy Jr. over there. So from a top-down situation, what are the things that you're hoping for the most out of what RFK has intimated he wants to do, or anything else like that? Is it things like drug advertising on television, which I would love to see go away? Is it agricultural changes? Is there anything in particular that you hope actually gets achieved in some kind of a lasting, meaningful way over the next couple of years?
The actual thing that I hope happens more than anything else is we end the entire concept of mandates. That's my issue. I am not upset if people want certain things in their life, whether it's medical, whether it's food, whatever the case may be. I want us to end mandates, number one. And number two, I want utter and complete transparency. Those are the two things that I want: utter and complete transparency and no mandates. Now, will I get both of those? I don't know. What will I accept as a victory? I will accept actual change that people can notice, that a year and a half from now, he can put in a book or a project that says, look at what we changed. Look at the change we made, and things are better. Because the problem is, most people don't believe change can actually happen. They don't believe it. They don't believe it. So that's why they get so angry. They want some kind of change. I want that type of thing, right? If we can make that happen, things will change. And the problem is, the CDC and places like that should have no direct control. And sadly, they do. And they do because courts say the assumption of whatever the CDC says is basically law. Now, is it officially law? It is not. That's true. It's not. But how it works in the country is a policy made by an agency, if not challenged by the courts, if not challenged by Congress or in a state assembly, is by default a law. Now, most people go, I hear all the time, but that's not a law. Yeah, you're right. It's not officially a law. It is a law, though, unless challenged. If it's challenged, it can be stopped. But it's not challenged. So therefore, it's a law, even though it isn't officially a law, because it's treated as one. And that's the problem.
Speaking about mandates, since you brought it up, what is official law in New York since 2019, Connecticut since 2021, Maine, West Virginia, California, and surprisingly Mississippi, is that there is no non-medical exemptions for shots. That there are, in New York, if you want your child to attend any school, public or private, they need to, by age 18, get anywhere from 20 to 25 shots. And you cannot say no thank you to any of them for any other reason other than you have some kind of you're immunocompromised or whatever the hell it is. But there's no personal way to say no thank you other than homeschooling or leaving the state. Now, it always I'd love to know, especially in New York situation, that was in 2019. Is that constitutional under the New York State Constitution?
You think New York cares about the Constitution?
Yeah, but is it technically? Did they amend it?
Of course it is. Yes, and here's the reason why. New York State did something dumb, and many states did this too. In the past, no right was by default given to a child, right? Rights were always for adults. But once you do one critical thing, one thing that people don't even notice, once you say education is a right in your Constitution, and New York has done that, you've just said the state controls the kids. That's what you've said. Prior to that, states don't control kids. Parents control kids, right? The Bill of Rights isn't necessarily for like 7-year-olds, right? It's not a thing. 7-year-olds don't have a right to bear arms, right? That's not a thing, right? Adults do. I mean, in theory, they don't in New York, but in theory they do, right? Though the rights are put on to adults, which, yes, that's the way it should be, not the kids. But once you say education, now they own your kids. because now they have to put your kids in education. And once it happens, they decide how that works. And if that means a jab, yes. If that means no jab, yes. So constitutionally, yes, it's utterly correct and okay. I think horrible, a terrible idea. I think it's not the right answer. I can't believe we did it, but we did. So now we've done it. So to answer your question, yes, anything to do with education now, the state can just go, yeah. And so this is why my plan works well. With my education plan, there's no state mandates. It's all local. Could a local public school decide, yes, you must have 4,000 shots before you come to school? Sure. Yes, you could do that locally if you wanted to. Now you're a parent. I don't like that. Homeschool your kid. I just gave you $6,000. Go to a local private school. There'll be tons of them. I just gave you $6,000. Or go to the school next door, because it doesn't matter where you live. It's just wherever you decide to bring your kid. So I've solved that problem, right? Yep. If you change the school system, local people can do whatever they want. Some people would love to have a school like that where there's 80,000 shots. Your kid, not mine. I just don't want to force you. Yeah. I am not against any of the stabs, any of the jabs. I am against the mandate. If you believe that is the right thing for you and or your family, good for you. If you don't, also good for you.
It's just one of those crazy places where education and healthcare actually converge. And that's why I'm happy that this came up. Well, you know,
someone actually in your chat brought up the teachers union, and I want to touch that piece. It's a valid point.
Okay.
Teachers, I'm not against unions at all. I'm not. I'm against unions that are monopolies. That is unconstitutional and stupid, and we did that on purpose to make sure governments can control them, and that was terrible. Unions should be optional for everyone. You should join a union if you want to. No worries whatsoever. But the problem with public sector unions, you should be able to be a union member if you're in the public sector. Of course you should, just like anyone else should. Labor has its own ability to fight in the free market like anything else. Of course it does. Here's the difference. The problem with public sector unions is they negotiate with the wrong people. A public sector union negotiates with the government, with the governor. Why? The governor's money. It's our money. Public sector union contracts should be, whether they're state, whether they're local, whether they're municipality, county, should all be ratified through ballot initiatives, public ballot initiatives. The people should vote on it. That's it. That's why you do, because that's our money. And you might go, why would I want to do that? Well, they'll screw the unions over. No, they won't, particularly in New York State. New York State's the most unionized workforce in the entire country. Everybody knows, if you're in New York State, knows somebody who works for a union. Everyone does. Why would you screw them over? You wouldn't. But now they're responsible to you. Right now, if I say I don't like my sanitation or I don't like my so-and-so, whatever, my police force, whatever, do I have any say over it? No. I don't negotiate with them. They don't care about me. I'm not the customer. The governor's the customer. I don't care. Doesn't matter to me. Right? Not just that, these unions spend all their money bribing all these guys so they can get their votes. Right? Mm-hmm. What if instead it was a citizens initiative? What would that mean? There's no reason to bribe these guys. They have no control over them. You've just ended the union control of the government. There's no need to bribe them. They don't deal with any of your stuff. We do. So now if I don't like my sanitation showing up on Thursday night and I want to show up on Wednesday night, right now, I have no power. It's Thursday night. Go to hell. But if I'm voting now on your union contract, we're going to get together and go, we'll vote yes, but you got to change it to Wednesday. And you know what they'll do? They'll change it to Wednesday. I will now have the ability to negotiate with them. That's how that works. If you just have public sector unions negotiate with the people through ballot initiatives, they should still be unions of just as much power, but it ends their power over the government, which they should not have power over the government. And now localized control of those unions. You're now with them, your people, you're together. And now all the money they right now spend to bribe the governor or bribe the assemblyman, whatever the case may be, they would now spend on us saying, hey, we're going to give you this, or we're going to give you that, or we want this, or that. Here's the service. Changes everything.
You I guess this is one of the last things I'll leave you with, because of course now we're just kicking open the door to the future, and I hope you run again. But the real question is, will it be? And I have to imagine it still would be under the libertarian ticket, because if you said that you were chased off the ballot by Republicans and Democrats alike in the last attempt, then I guess the chances of you going in under a Republican and getting a real shot to the arm that you obviously would need to get a lot farther.
Let's be clear about this. I can't run as a Democrat or Republican. And let me explain why.
Okay.
I could never win a Democratic primary. Impossible. I could never win one. Impossible. So that's a done deal. Cannot win a Democratic primary. A Republican cannot win this state. Period. And Republicans will lie, and they're going to say, this is the year that Republicans can win. They do it every year, and they lie every year. Why do they do that? They do that so they can keep raising money. That's the reason why. All these people have to get paid. All these government guys get paid, so they do it to raise money. Republican cannot win a statewide election. Now, locally, Republicans win in New York State all the time. So locally, if you like a local Republican, please support that local Republican. If you like them, good for you. Statewide, it's a joke. It's never going to happen. And they're going to lie to you and tell you that that's going to happen. It's not. It's impossible. At one point, they're going to stop running Republicans statewide. Larry, that's insane. No, already happened. Last year in Nebraska, literally the Democratic Party did not run a candidate for senator, not state senator, the one that goes to D.C. They didn't bother running a candidate. In Utah, 2 years before, they didn't bother running a candidate. Why? It's 4-1 Republican and Democrat in those states. New York's only 3-1 Democrat Republican. When New York becomes 4-1, the same thing will happen. Republicans will just stop running candidates because you can't afford to. There's no chance of winning. They will just stop. And you might go, it's crazy. I just gave you 2 examples of it happening, and it's going to happen again. So running as a Republican is a waste of time. Why? Because Democrats will not vote for Republicans. They won't. As much as Republicans hate Democrats, Democrats hate Republicans. That's how it works. They're not going to. Will they vote for an independent? Yes, they will. Now, in New York State, we have an advantage. We have a thing called fusion voting. Most states don't have this. In New York State, you can actually run on the ballot as multiple lines. You can be a Republican and a conservative and a libertarian and a Green Party. You can be many things here, right? That's the advantage. In that case, what I would want to do is run as an independent and hope the Republicans get smart and decide to endorse me. Now, they may or may not. The odds are they won't, because in most states where the lower party is utterly destroyed, they tend to worry about grifting, not winning. Right? So Democrats in Nebraska care about grifting. Republicans in New York care about grifting. Right? That's the issue. But if they actually care about winning, then they will go, wait a minute. Let's back this Larry Sharpe guy, because he'll run as either Libertarian or We the People Party or some combination or Forward Party. I'd run on any of those three. Right? Whatever would get me on the line. I'd run on any of those three or all of those three. I'd run We the People. I'd run Libertarian. I'd run Forward. Whatever would get me on the line as an independent. Because an independent, I know they will vote for me. How do I know that? Because we did polling. Of the people who voted for me in 2018, over 25% of them were registered Democrats. So I know that Democrats will vote for me. Right? They don't vote for Republicans, though, but they will vote for me. So if that happens, now I'm either a Libertarian, We the People, and or Forward. I think all three if I can get it. And the Republicans go, wait, we can't win. This guy could actually win for us. They back me. I would have Republican line, Conservative line, Libertarian line, Forward line, all those lines. Kathy Hochul has 2. That becomes a winnable race. That's how you win the thing, by having 3 to 4 to 5 lines, and the Republicans stop getting stupid and thinking that their guy can win. Here's the problem. Nationwide versus New York, it's exactly the opposite. Why in the world are the Democrats getting so devastated across the country, but in New York, the Republicans are getting devastated in New York? It's a really big reason, a very simple reason. No ideas. Across the country, Democrats are the party of no ideas. Republicans are the party of bad ideas. Right? That's how that works. In New York, it's the reverse. Democrats are the party of bad ideas. Republicans are the party of no ideas. So if you ask anyone in New York State, you're a New Yorker, can you think of any statewide Republican plan that you've ever heard of in the past 10 years that wasn't more cops?
You're the only plan I've ever actually heard.
Thank you. Yes.
Like the only plan.
Correct.
Because it doesn't matter who the
Democrats have plans. More taxes and congestion pricing and raise taxes. As I said, bad plans.
But you know, right? but even more than that, like I always bring this story up. It was at the end of the 2020 year, 2020. The election had just been over, and we were waiting for that special election in Georgia in January of 2021. I always talk about how absurd this was. That somebody had asked Bill de Blasio a very basic budgetary question about what was going on in New York City. And he actually said, well, you know, we have a special election in Georgia in a couple of weeks that we have to wait to see what's going on there, because that would determine the outcome of the Senate in DC so he would know what money's coming to him in New York City.
Yes.
I'm like,
Yes.
It's like it's so easy to like, what is a governor? What is a mayor when you're waiting for somebody from 1,000 miles away to send you a check to do your job? So like, I never hear plans from local politicians. They don't have any.
There is one plan. If you notice, the plan for most Democrats in New York State is Uncle Joe's going to write me a nice big fat check.
Yeah, that's what they did in Georgia.
Yes, the sad part for New York is Uncle Joe didn't win the election. Uncle Don won the election, and Uncle Don may not want to give that check. That's why Kathy Hochul went down there going, I know I said some stuff, but, I've always loved you, Don. You've always been my buddy. You know that. Can I have that check, please? So that they're going there. That is their answer. The answer is more money from the federal government. That is the answer. That's the answer for California's wildfires. Why do you think Gavin Newsom's so quiet? Gavin Newsom not talking about how bad Trump is. He's having Republicans on his podcast.
Mm-hmm.
He needs a check for them fires. He's a check. He's got to be good. He's Mr. Nice Guy. He loves Republicans now. I need a check, so they're my friend now. That's how that works.
Well, listen, whenever you decide to officially make a public decision, we got to do like, especially in when's the next election? 2026?
2026. If I do make a run, I'll probably announce sometime this year if I do make a run. I am considering it. I'm thinking about it. The problem is, for those you don't know, running for office as an independent is brutal. I can't work when I do it. I will go into debt. I'll be pilloried and destroyed and ripped apart because they always do that. And it's punishment. It's literally punishment. When I was done my 2018 run, I was $100,000 in debt. When I was done my 2022 run, I couldn't get a ballot, I was $40,000 in debt. So it is debt, and because I can't raise enough money to compete with these guys. So I have to just not work and go into personal debt so that I can survive. And it's horrible. Luckily, I'm a consultant where I can make money and pay that back. But it is brutal. It is painful and brutal. And the worst part is, when you run, the people who are supposed to be your friends, generally speaking, just take a steaming dump all over you because you're not perfect for them. Some of your worst enemies are the people supposed to be your friends. So you get backstabbed, you get yelled at, you get insulted, disrespected. It's horrible. It's horrible. And then you make one mistake and the press rips you to pieces. That's why people run once and don't run again, because it is terrible. People think it's cool. Yeah, if you're a paper candidate. If you just go, I put my name on a ballot, I'm running for president. Okay, yeah, it's cool, I guess. But if you actually run a campaign, there are fears for your life. My second run, there were no threats on my life at all. Well, that's not true. There was one. I had to call the cops once. So yeah, one time. But it was different people. But when I ran the first time, I had multiple threats on my life. Right? I literally had to run security when I was upstate New York. I couldn't have any security in New York City because you can't have a gun in New York City. So I had no security. I gambled in New York City that somebody would not do something. Right? But upstate, at least I could use local militias to run my security. So it is a horrible thing to do. It crushes you. You lose friends. You lose family. All my mistakes are public, right? Every mistake I make is public, and people would relentlessly attack me for anything I say or do, which is why I come up with a very aggressive stance in general, to tell them to all go take a flying leap because they're going to hate me anyway. So there's a lot of that too. So anyway, yes, I'm considering it, but it is painful to do. But the problem is, no one else is going to do it. That's the problem. And when I'm a coach or a trainer in businesses, I will often ask this question of executives. When they say, I got to get this done or that done, I go, okay, if not you, then who? And sometimes they have an answer. Well, Jane could do it. Bob could do it. Awesome. Let's get them on board. Let's get them to do it. Let's do that. Sometimes they go, well, nobody else. Well, then it's you, because no one else. And sometimes I feel like, if not me, there is nobody. For New York State, don't get me wrong. Across the country, there's tons of great people who could run. But in New York State, when I ran in 2022, in 2021, I did polling, Zogby polling, some polling from other companies. You can check it if you want to. It's on 538. I was polling at 6%, and I hadn't announced yet. That's insane. No independent can poll like that in New York State. There's no other independent in New York State who can poll that way. When I got kicked off the ballot, got my ass kicked in 2022, they did a poll in October. This is a poll done by the Republicans. I polled at 2%. 2%, when I'm not on the ballot, I got my ass kicked. It's October, and I'm still polling at 2%. So there's no one who can match that in New York State. I mean, again, outside, there's people who could do it. No one else in New York State.
Great. Well, still grateful someone like you would suffer the slings and arrows for something like that. And I'm telling you, if regardless of what you choose, I'd love to do a check-in with you every couple of months and see what we can do. I mean, it's I have a nice audience. They're not all in New York, but you just never know. You never know who's watching,
Yeah.
and little ripples turn into big waves sometimes.
Yep, absolutely.
Well,
can I pitch your audience real fast?
I want, please let everybody know where to find you, because you got the show, you've got your consulting. Let everybody know where to find you in the meantime.
For those of you who want to hear what I'm doing and see what I'm doing, I do a show almost every night. I would have done one tonight, but I'm here instead. I usually do a show around 7 p.m. almost every night, sometimes 8, sometimes earlier, but using that area around that time. And you can watch it if you want to on The Sharpe Way YouTube page. It's a great place to go. It's live. I take a lot of back and forth. And if you go there, you'll see policies I put together, ideas I put together. I break down videos, all types of things. It's interesting. Please enjoy it. It's The Sharpe Way on YouTube. Please subscribe and click all notifications when you do so. Thank you.
Please do so. The Sharpe Way, and also I put them in the whatchamacallit, the description of the episode, and I tagged him in the Twitter stream. So just click right through to that, to his account. And Larry, I'd love to have you back soon. And actually, if things clear up for you over the summer, where you're just hanging around, you want to come up to the studio in Westchester, there's always a seat open over here for you too. So we can do that.
I love it.
All
yes,
right.
Let's do that. Yes, do that.
Well, thank you for the time, and have a wonderful evening.
All right, brother. Have a good
Bye-bye.
one.
There goes Larry Sharpe. I told you. Now, I haven't been watching the chat room or anything else like that, but I know that there's probably a mix of things. Probably a mix of people going, wow, this is great. And there's others saying, it makes too much sense. That's why it won't work. And others just, I don't know. Maybe there's just the nihilists out there, to that I just say, I guess load up your musket then, my friend, because what the hell else is there to say? This was just to show that there are innovative people. Now you can say it's a good idea, but I can add something to it. Great. Those are the types of debates that should be going on in the state legislatures. That's what should be going on. How can we put our minds together? If it's something we really wanted to do, if we were organized, how can we put our minds together to make life better, to make economies stronger, the dollar stronger, people freer, and the federal government weaker? It's possible. It really is. And thinking and acting locally, that's what it is. And you know what? I knew that this show was coming up, and I have a friend, and I know that there are people in this audience that are interested in this, whether it be Board of Education, trustees, whatever. Mayor, do you want to be a governor? Do you want to be a senator, a House of Representatives? You want whatever you want to do. I want to tell you a little bit about somebody before I go to break, and that is my friend Crystal. I've known Crystal Queen. I've known her for nearly 20 years now. In 2017, it'll be 20 years, because she started watching me, Anthony, and Mike Zadals in New York back in 2007, that first class of people with King and everybody else. And we kept in touch over those years. And she lives in Ohio. She is a nurse working in all those hospital systems and everything like that. And, especially during lockdowns and stuff, I was in touch with her a lot during lockdowns, just asking, what's going, trying to navigate crazy waters of protocols and what's going on in the hospitals out there in Ohio. And I just keeping in touch and all that. So she has, ever since lockdowns and 2020, became a lot more politically involved. And over the course of the last 5 years or so, she has started up a really great campaign management company that helps people, no matter what state they're in, what region they're in, whether it is for local dog catcher or if you want to run a race for the Senate. It doesn't matter how small, whatever it is. She started a company called Tally Management, TALLEYMGMT.com. Her name is Crystal Queen. You got to go check it out. For those of you out there who are interested in putting yourself out there and doing what Larry Sharpe is doing, in whatever capacity, he's going for the big seat in New York with the governorship, but maybe there's something else that you think you can do locally. It doesn't matter how small the public office is. You should get in touch with Crystal. I told her I wanted to do this. She asked me if people would be open. I said, listen, I've already had several people get in touch with me, say that they've become comptrollers or, board of education or other things all over the place too. And she sent me her address, and this is it right here. TALLEYMGMT.com. Tally Management. The road to victory starts with us. There's no substitute for reinforcing a trusted reputation. Exhibit that you anticipate all needs with an impactful, customized political campaign to deliver results for your constituents. And then there's all practice areas and what the consulting brings you, what they do for you between fundraising and media buying and branding and social media management and all that, communication. So get in touch with them if it's something you even want to inquire about, because I know that there are those of you out there who are wondering, I got an itch, but I wouldn't know where to start. It's too big of an undertaking, and perhaps it is. I never looked into it, but over the last 4 years, Crystal has done enough great work with some reputable names and campaigns that she was at the inaugural ball. She was watching Trump cut the cake with that saber. So, anyway, get in touch with them. Tally Management, and we'll be right back. I want to take some calls to end this one. All right. What a great show.
Welcome to Intermission. Intermission.
Evil, I just misunderstood.
All right, so very nice. Hope you guys enjoyed that one. Let's get to some super chats over on quitefrankly.tv, powered by pilled.net. The Gold Pills, Paulie9363, thank you. D. Daled says Larry is a great guest. He is. He's a great guest because he's thought it out. He's thought it all out. Listen, can you imagine having had that flexibility presented to you as a kid? Kindergarten through 10. And then at age 16, you're given, it's almost like a choose your own ending book. Do you want to go to 2 more years for strictly college prep? Do you want to start looking into a trade? Do you want to go into to have that flexibility? Do you want to just start working? I mean, it's makes me tingle inside thinking of that kind of those options and that kind of freedom. There is so much constriction that it can feel physically suffocating when you think about the whole damn thing. And college is just like some rite of passage now. It's not even something that my God, I mean, we were watching that Charlie Kirk thing the other night. Case in point, people just shoveled off to college to make fools out of themselves in front of microphones be professional activists. Ollie9363, thank you for the fleet. And Delona with another fleet. That's so wonderful of you. Great show, says D-Daled. NX17 says, Larry Sharpe speaks so much common sense. I know. To think that you get all of that stuff, it improves the lot of every student. It improves the lot of anybody that's trying to figure out their healthcare situation. And it also is all generated from what is being made in state. And you get to tell the federal government, go away now. Go away now. And then the lawsuits coming in. I just love anybody who is who talks about ignoring the federal government and frivolous lawsuits. That's just like a flailing demon right there that is upset that you aren't paying attention to them anymore. They got splashed with holy water. Incredible. The 10th Amendment really is holy water. Amethyst Cat says, fantastic guest, Frank. Cave Toad says, great show, Frank. Looking forward to Saturday Rumble features. And Safety Net 820 says, Larry, please come back often. One love, Lynn. Especially if he runs, I'd love to have him on every other month. Okay, what's going on? Where are you going to be this month, this week? Traveling all over New York? Ah, my God. Republicans. What are you going to do? All right, and over on Quite Frankly Superchat.com, thank you, Stowstube, for a wonderful tip. And also Jay Britz. It says, we could use Larry Sharpe in South Carolina. Smart ideas. Great show, Frank. Greetings to the Stowstubes. Yeah, that's the whole point here. There are states out that he's talking about in someplace like Nebraska or wherever the hell it was, where it's 4-1 Republican to Democrat, where Democrats aren't even running a Senate candidate. They say, hey, save your ammo, move it to another state where there's actually a chance. You think about what Utah produces. You think about what South Carolina produces, what Kentucky sends to the Senate. Oh my gosh, Mitt Romney, Lindsey Graham, Mitch McConnell. You could do so much. And what ideas do they bring? Nothing. We don't have ideas. There's no ideas. It's just what the best idea we have is to make deal with what is there. It's ridiculous. So everybody needs it. Everybody needs it. It must actually be, it's almost like listening to Larry talk is almost like being teased with a canteen. It's like that scene in Three Amigos. They're in the desert and they're also thirsty, getting teased with the full canteen of water. You guys in red states, so you have the majorities to do incredible things. It's just that's more frustrating to me, to limp out of a election with several flat tires because someone like Lindsey Graham is going back to the Senate for another 6 years, and you had the majorities to send the next Patrick Henry in there. But anyway, we'll see what happens. A lot of people are starting to wake up. That might yield different results. Mo Howard 77 over there on Rumble. Thank you so much for the Rumble rant. And what Cave Toad was talking about is that on April 12th, we are going to have a Rumble only Saturday night special. And we have some friends over there at Rumble now. And what's going to happen is that we're going to have at least one Saturday night special every month. Maybe sometimes there'll be more than one, but at least one Saturday night special every month will be on Rumble. And hopefully that'll come with some feature time and who knows what else, but it'll be fun little thing for a Saturday night. And I'm gonna think of some fun things to do with that, and that'll be nice. All right. Let's see. What else do we have here? Safety Net 820 says, Larry, please come back off. Oh, we already did that. Okay, let's take a call. Hey, Carrie, you there?
Yes, I can't believe you answered.
Oh, I answered. How you feeling?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Oh, well. So what do you think about tonight?
Okay, well, I was just wanting to say something on the trades issue. I just watched an interview with Mike Rowe on the American Thought Leaders.
Mm-hmm.
It was an amazing interview, and he's the dirty jobs guy.
Absolutely.
And was talking about all the different things. But also, I remember when I was a young person, I'm 62 now, but, there were Votech schools and stuff. And so they had those programs where you could, go to the Votech school around 16 and do something other than the college plan. But when my son graduated in 2014, that wasn't really an option. But he based on something that I had seen from Mike Rowe talking about the Think Big program with Caterpillar, the Caterpillar machines.
Yeah.
He went and he interned the summer after he graduated high school at a Caterpillar dealership. And then in the fall, he went to Oklahoma State University Institute of Technology in their Caterpillar Think Big program. And he went to school, lived in a dorm for 7 weeks, did classes, and then he came back and worked in the dealership for 7 weeks and alternated 7 weeks on, 7 weeks off. And he got paid while he was working. So he was able to make money and apply what he was learning. And it was just a 2-year program. So now he's a heavy diesel mechanic for Caterpillar,
That's
has
great.
a really good job. It's a dirty job, but there's always going to be a need for that. But I highly recommend anybody listening to that interview because he's very philosophical. And I think you would really love that interview.
Oh, you know what, Carrie, we have been, I love Mike Rowe. He is one of those bucket list guys where I would love to have him on the show, not just once, but for a series of talks, just to talk in general. And I've read things that he's written about just cultural issues like work ethic and pride and dignity and all that stuff. And I love just listening to when he started his, he started his podcast years ago. It was called The Way I Heard It or something like that. And he had, when his podcast, The Way I Heard It, I think that's what it was called, came out, it was originally just every episode was 5 to 7 minutes long. And it was just a little anecdote from his life about one thing or another. And I could listen to him talk about literally anything. And he's been doing long form discussions now that I watch and we put into the Sunday night stream. So you're on point with that. He's great to listen to. And to your point about something that he drills down all the time is about things like just picking yourself up and plotting your own course, doing something like a trade, not going through the hamster wheel just because it's been preordained. I must go to college. I must do this. And then I start becoming an adult looking for a career. He always has been talking about trades and, there's this, dirty jobs is not about working an undignified job. Those are the jobs that make it's all hand in hand. There's the yin, the yang. It's the same thing over and over again. There's a lot of balance that is put in society because of those jobs, and people are overlooking them because of that kind of cultural malaise that we're going through right now. And I think that a little bit more encouragement for people to get off of the track, have a little bit more flexibility, and do what your son did is just going to be not only beneficial for the economy, but just for general fulfillment in life. And I'm glad you got through tonight.
All right. Well, thanks for answering my call. Have a great night.
Absolutely. And congratulations. That's always great to know that your son's doing well, or that's great. Something to be proud of. Yeah. Yeah, good one right there. All right, what do I have? What else we have? 8:44. A couple of minutes. I have something funny for you. Well, first I gotta show you this. First of all, everybody sending for the this week and into next week, quite frankly, superchat.com, which you can send even off air, or Rumble Rants, you're getting put into the a raffle for Jane Barlow's latest book with an inscription in there and also the added chapter on psychedelics. But you're also going to be getting a spring Polaroid from me to snap a Polaroid for you. That'll be in there too. So that's what all of the Rumble Rants and quite frankly superchat.com tips are going to be put into the running for probably in the middle of next week or so. Maybe around my birthday or just after my birthday. Maybe on April 3rd when we get back together, I'll announce that. So just letting you know on that one. Here's an astro update from our good friend Mike the Quaker. Mike said, Frank, this week's eclipse has a rare configuration that was replicated February 4th, 1962. When these events occurred, number one, the Cuban Missile Crisis began with embargo against Cuba that almost resulted in World War III during October 16th to 28 of 62. Pope John the 23rd announced Vatican II would start. And then the follow-up eclipse, July 17th to 31 in 1962, military coup d'etat in Peru, Russia transport nuclear missiles to Cuba, and then July 30th, RFK last phone call with Marilyn Monroe ending the relationship, and she died, supposedly by suicide, on August 4th, 1962 at age 36. So the follow-up partner eclipse is September 7th of this year, 2025. I always like little astro predictions and whatever. So there you have it. There's a little something for you there. Another little announcement on the forum on quitefrankly.tv. Just to let you know, we're looking for newsletter fan photo submissions. Click the forum. It's pinned to the top. Send in pictures of anything, an amazing travel excursion with your family, a recent trek up a mountain, an achievement, an anniversary, a Frankly anniversary. Was this your anniversary month, finding the show however many years ago? I want to know about it. Here's another teaser for you. The new Quite Frankly mug for 2025 is done. I have two coming my way right now. One's going to be right here to, compete for space with the 2024 edition, but they look sleek, man. It's been added to the coffee website for the Elevation Blend. You can get the coffee and the mug there too. Look at how sleek that is. Oh, she's sexy in black. She's got a nice little waistline, doesn't she? She's got just perfect grip. Just great. Drink your coffee like an absolute Chad. And that's all I have on that end. Belushi says, great show, Frank. Thanks again for joining us on Foxhole Squares. We should definitely do it again. Yes, Belushi. I had a lot of fun with you. It was great meeting you and talking. I sent a nice boatload of production notes over to Sandra and Zoso Dude. I really am. I hope that they keep up with that and that it gets better and better. And I think I think it'd be great. I love that. I would love to syndicate that on quitefrankly.tv too on a Saturday night. Okay, let's see. Now I have something for you, just a little bit of a bonus. And what is the bonus? We're talking about government inefficiency. So I knew I had this saved. It's a story that I've always loved. And I said, okay, well, this is going to be a great night to pull it out for a little bit of show and tell. This goes back to 1970. And if any of you out there were around to see this in Oregon, please let me know. It was not a big crowd, but if you were around for this, let me know, because I've never spoken to an eyewitness. What are we talking about? We're talking about a night on November 12, 1970, where a 45-foot, 8-ton sperm whale washed ashore near Florence, Oregon, presenting a significant disposal problem for local authorities. I'm going to show you the video, don't worry. And I know that many of you know what video I'm talking about. The Oregon Highway Division, so again, we're talking about government decision-making here. The Oregon Highway Division, tasked with handling the situation, decided to use explosives to disintegrate the whale carcass. They believed the blast would scatter the remains far enough into the ocean for scavengers to consume. This plan involved 20 cases of dynamite, approximately half a ton, strategically placed under the whale. Crowds of spectators and reporters gathered to watch the spectacle, drawn by the novelty of the approach. The novelty being blowing the damn thing up with half a ton of dynamite. At 3:45 p.m., the explosion occurred, but instead of solving the problem, it caused chaos. Large chunks of blubber flew in all directions, with some pieces landing over a quarter-mile away, including one that destroyed a parked car. Fortunately, no one was seriously injured, but the blast failed to achieve its intended goal. After the explosion, much of the whale carcass remained on the beach, necessitating manual cleanup by workers. Smaller fragments of blubber littered the surrounding areas, and the foul odor lingered. News footage from the event, captured by Portland news anchor Paul Lindman and cameraman Doug Brazil, aired shortly afterwards, turning the incident into a humorous cautionary tale of poor planning. And decades later, the footage resurfaced on the internet, cementing the exploding whale as a bizarre piece of pop culture history. The event is now memorialized in Florence with the Exploding Whale Memorial Park, dedicated in 2020 on the 50th anniversary of the incident. It stands as a reminder of the unexpected consequences of unconventional solutions and remains a source of fascination and amusement. If you have been to the museum, the memorial, let me know. But if you were actually there for this, please let me know. Let's watch this now together. Here we go. Hold on. Here we go. And
well, I'm confident that it'll work. The only thing is we're not sure just exactly how much explosives it'll take to disintegrate this.
That car that got crushed was a quarter-mile away. Thankfully, nobody was inside of it. But not only you're getting, I love the fact that he actually said whale blubber. Whale blubber. And not only is it crushing things, but it just stinks because it's a rotting carcass. And, you know, this is a giant sperm whale here. So, you know, many of those pieces are like, they probably weighed as much as a person. So just think about dead bodies being thrown all over the place. Gross. Gross, but that's government. That's government efficiency for you. Anyway, I thank you all for hanging out with me tonight on this Tuesday. I hope that you're all enjoying yourselves. And again, I will see you tomorrow at 7. No. I will see you tomorrow night. I won't be starting at 7. Be a little bit beyond that. But we're going to have a great call with Lauren Conlon, and I'll be at Studio B, and it'll be a little bit more of a call-in show. And in fact, I think that that's what's going to happen a little bit more throughout this T-ball season. That one night a week that I have to go for T-ball, we have to start just a little bit later. That'll be mostly an open lines kind of a night. I'll make sure we have some topics, and it'll be a little bit less stressful. Everything seems a little bit less stressful in the spring and the summer, doesn't it? That's until stress hits. And then it's just stressful and hot. All right. Good night, everybody. I will see you all tomorrow, and thank you so much. Send me a message on email or through Patreon, Subscribestar. We put a lot of extra stuff over there on Patreon and Subscribestar. Become a sponsor through quitefrankly.tv. For my birthday, become a sponsor. I don't ask for really much of anything. $5 a month. It's really nothing, but you get hundreds of dollars of extras back. Hundreds. And I'm looking to increase that because value added is, that's everything to me. Thank you guys for it all. I'll see you again in about 24 hours. All right. Bye-bye.
I'll catch you on the flip side.
Quite Frankly is filmed before a live studio audience, and now I just want to let you know that we have wonderful after-hours programming on quitefrankly.tv, Project Unity, Flesh Simulator, Patrick Bet-David and Ron Paul, Tucker Carlson and Captain Sherry Walker, Art Bell, with Richard Hoagland, Curiosity Images, all that on quitefrankly.tv right after these end credits conclude. Thank you guys so much, and thank you to all of my wonderful friends out there, the Gold Pillars, and the Rumble Ranters, and you know who. Bye-bye. See you tomorrow.
But you are asking me to give you the key to his room so you can walk in, put a gun to his head and pull the trigger, and I can't do that.
He murdered Annie and Peter.
There are only murderers in this room. Michael, open your eyes. This is the life we chose, the life we lead. And there is only one guarantee. None of us will see heaven.